Once upon a time, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, there was a young California hippie girl living in Los Angeles who was enthusiastic about the possibility of having a career in business. And I think you would have liked her. She was very enthusiastic. She was smart. She was assertive. She wanted to be something in the world. She wanted to make something of herself while doing good for others as well. But I think you would have found her very naive as well. Let's make her go away. You would have found her very naive because she thought, and that was me back in the olden days, I thought that my newly minted UCLA MBA was going to be all that I was going to require in order to become a success in the business world, going to work for that bastion of femininity, Gillette safety razor. And when I got to the business world, I found I was a stranger in a strange land, and that I really didn't know what country I had moved to in this strange new world. But I was a very good student, and I had some wonderful mentors, all of whom happened to be men, who taught me what does it mean to be a truly powerful, successful leader? How do you become a leader? And I was very fortunate because those lessons served me very well, and I ended up as the senior vice president for UBS Financial Services on Wall Street in the 20,000 person division formerly known as Payne Weber. And I learned some wonderful lessons about leadership, but I also learned some really hard lessons. And the hardest lesson I ever learned was that my enthusiasm and my assertiveness and my intelligence and my MBA were all critically important. But they weren't enough. Because what I saw brilliant ideas, I saw fabulous careers, and I saw truly wonderful people who got kicked to the curb, not because of their technical skills or their personalities or the fact that they were great people, but they couldn't make a powerful and compelling connection with the important people around them. And then I saw something else, which I know no one here has ever seen, and that is that I saw people succeed despite the fact that they had no credentials. I saw people succeed that was all charisma and no deliverables. Oh, I saw some head nods. Oh dear. We called those empty suits on Wall Street, and I found out that in Texas they call that all hat and no cattle. With luck, you are not working with anyone like that, but I saw that and it disturbed me. And when I moved back to my hometown, San Diego is my hometown, when I moved back to be with my now 2 weeks shy of 97-year-old mother, I made it my vow that my mission was going to be to help people, and especially women, become more powerful, confident, and aligned with who they are at their deepest and most authentic core. To stay women, but become powerful. And that's why I love coming to speak to groups like this, because I have the opportunity to talk about some of the things that I've observed and learned over the years about how do you make that connection so people listen to what you have to say. Charisma is a learnable skill. There are things that you can do to become more charismatic and be seen as that kind of leader that people want to listen to. So I'm going to do a quick opener and ask you to just turn to the person next to you and think about the most charismatic person that you've ever seen. It might be a business leader, it might be a clergy person, it might be an entertainer, it might be just someone you happen to know. And think about what you saw, how you experienced that person that allowed you to think that they were charismatic. So just turn to the person next to you for a couple of minutes and say hello, introduce yourself, all that stuff. I know I absolutely haven't given you enough time to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it a little bit now. When someone walks in the room who is charismatic, what do you get? How do you know? How do you say, oh, that person has presence? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you get?
Smile.
They seem confident. Maybe they smile.
Positive.
They might be positive. I'm going to make I put a little asterisk next to some of those things. Let me come back to that in a second. What else do you see?
Empathetic.
They seem to be empathetic. You seem to feel a connection to them somehow. I often say, why do people write fan letters? Why do you think that you have the right to send off a letter to somebody that you don't know? It's because that person has created that sense of connection with you, right? What else? How do they stand, walk, move?
Leader.
A leader? What does a leader look like?
Just getting the team to come together and unite.
Mm-hmm. So what do you see when they walk in the room? Take it down to the...
Stand tall.
They have confidence. They stand tall. They look people in the eye. They have good eye contact. What do they sound like?
Loudly, yeah, like speak clearly and loud.
They speak clearly. They tend to have louder voices.
Enthusiasm.
They may have enthusiasm. They seem committed to whatever it is that they're speaking about. They have a sense of purpose around them. Is that?
They listen and they look you right in the eye.
They listen and they look you right in the eye. I have had the honor of meeting Bill Clinton and Rudy Giuliani and Yo-Yo Ma as just as some examples, as well as Jamie Lee Curtis and Hillary Clinton. And I can tell you when those people focus on you, you know it. It's like a flashlight goes whoosh, right at you, and you are trapped for that moment. So those people tend to have that. So there are things that we experience in things that people do who have presence and charisma that may be more or bigger than other people. So they stand taller. They speak louder. They project a sense of confidence. There are a whole lot of things, and I have a list. These are what I call the 9 levers of charisma. Look at this list here. And by the way, this is the basis of my book. I do have a book that you can look at if you want over there on the table. Look at that list. Is there anything on that list that you don't believe you could change if you thought about it or got some training or got some help or even just tried? Is there anything on that list you can't change?
Mastering nerves.
Mastering nerves is probably the most difficult one. But it is possible to do. It is possible to master your nerves, absolutely. It just takes a little more work. If we had time, we could do about a 3-day workshop on mastering nerves.
Your identity.
Your identity, we'll talk about that as you go forward. Your identity is, who said that? That your identity is much more complex. And I like to think about it as not necessarily changing your identity, but choosing which part of yourself you lead with and which part of yourself that you show to the world as the beginning place. Yeah. But all of these things you can impact, you can change, you can have some sort of an effect. Did you need more handouts? Is that what? Yeah.
Anyone else?
All of that said, when I think of a person who has presence and charisma, I think of a person who is focused in the present moment. They are fully engaged with you there in that moment. Presence and present come from the same roots in English, which is not a coincidence. They create a sense of connection, and they have an immovable sense of self. And they are purposeful in what they do. Now, I'm going to make one aside to answer what people said over here about positivity and smiling and all of that. The answer to that is absolutely. That's the positive side of being charismatic or having presence. There are also people who have presence who maybe are not the positive people that we want, and maybe they connect through their negativity. Charisma is more like a tool that can be used in a positive way or unfortunately used in a negative way, and there are many examples of that in world history that you see of people who are highly charismatic, who led a group of people down a wrong path. So they may not have been positive, but they still had a lot of those things. So did that make sense? Yeah, okay. Okay. People who are charismatic, you get the sense that they have a purpose. Does anybody here know who Simon Sinek is? Okay. If you have not listened to his talk on his TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, I would put that down as an action item for yourself. People do not buy what you do. They buy why you do it. They buy your purpose and your sense of purposefulness about what you're doing. Charismatic people walk in the room with purpose. They stand with purpose. They speak with expressive power and purpose. You get a sense of that purpose flowing out of everything they do. They use language that's powerful and purposeful and with conscious choice to find the right way to say things. And they have an attitude that reflects that purpose. In my opinion, purpose is what gives people charisma, because of the way that it focuses your energy and drives you forward. Does that make sense? In some sort of vague way, at least. You'll see how this works as we go farther. And by the way, please feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, I don't want you sitting there with a question in your head. Just wave at me. I'm pretty good at picking up the signals from the audience when somebody's going. It's pretty easy for me to tell. So we are going to talk tonight about your purposeful walk, your purposeful posture, your voice, your language, and your attitude to a certain extent. I will tell you we're going to move along quickly because I like to give a lot of tips. So there's a lot of information in this presentation. So if I speed through things, please forgive me. And with luck, we'll make it through the whole list by the end of the evening. And if not, we'll either stay longer or you can call me on the phone and I'll tell you everything you wanted to know. All right. The caution on this, and this goes to what you were saying, is that all of these things are about power. And there are going to be times when you do not want to do these things as a woman or as a subordinate or depending on the relationship. You are not going to want to do these things because you will overpower the situation. And again, this is a challenge for all of us as women, especially in the business world. So the caution is that I'm going to tell you how to be powerful. You're going to have to choose when you use the techniques. And there are times when you're going to say, I need to be soft. I need to be soft because otherwise that person is never going to hear me or it's not appropriate in that situation. All right, so that's the warning label on the side of the pack. I don't think this will give you any disease, but it could get in the way of your career or sometimes your relationships. So the first thing we're going to talk about is walk and posture, and how the differences in the way that you walk and stand can have people see you in a completely different way. Before I do, first question, why is talking about body language important? How we communicate? Who said first thing we see? Yeah. You said, oh,
It's the first thing that people see.
Exactly. Body language is important from a very, very basic human standpoint. Imagine, if you will, that you were walking down, this is a couple of 1,000 years ago, and you're walking down the side of the river close to where your tribe lives, having a good day, everything is wonderful, and you look across the river, and all of a sudden, you see this. How long did it take you to look at that and make a judgment about whether that person was a threat or not? Basically instantly. As soon as you perceived it, actually it takes you a microseconds to perceive that as a threat, and then it takes you 1 to 3 seconds for you to name it as a threat. But your body's already going to react, right? And run away. So we are hardwired to look for people who are inside our tribe versus people who are outside our tribe, to look for threat in our environment. In fact, we have in the threat assessment system of your brain, the threat and opportunity system of your brain, 1/3 of the neurons look for opportunity. 2/3 of the neurons look for threat. So we're hardwired to look for threat. And how far away do you want to be from this guy as you're assessing threat? We want him on the other side of the river, right? We want him on the other side of the river. And consequently, first impressions are predominantly what? First impressions, actually, that's often true, yes. And in this situation, when you think of how you make a first impression, how do we make first impressions? What senses are we using? Predominantly visual. First impressions are predominantly visual. So I talk about things like walk and posture because you evaluated that guy who was from Lost, I think. I think I stole him from Lost. You evaluated him instantly based on what he looked like, how he stood, what he was wearing, and your perception of threat. Instantly, right? So people see you. What do they see as you walk in the door? What impression are you making when you walk in that door? Right? Now, does anyone here ever live or work in New York City? Oh, yay, lots of us. What does New York City have? Lots and lots and lots of people. And lots of people create lots and lots of what? Noise. Crowds. I would say threat. Also, our threat assessment system is going on all the time. So when I lived in New York City, I believed in putting on my New York City subway walk. And my New York City subway walk, I'll do it once up that way and back the other way so you can see it, looked kind of like this. Ready? Right? Back this way. What do I increase or decrease the likelihood that someone is going to mess with me? Do I look more or less powerful? More powerful. Right. So let me show you, I'll show you one thing, and I'm going to walk from the corner of here to my little suitcase there. And I want you to say 1 potato, or maybe past it. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. So on your mark, get set, go.
1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato.
Okay, on your mark, get set, go.
1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato.
Which one took longer? It's a trick question.
Same time.
They took the same time. Which one did I look like I was moving more uncomfortably and faster? The first one. How did the second one look? I looked composed, I looked calm. So if I came up to the front of the room kind of like this and walked up, I'm going to talk to you about executive presence tonight. You would have thought, uh-oh. Patty, Amy, what were you thinking, right? So the first thing I tell people to do is think about changing your walk when you come in the room, because it will change the way that you feel as well as the way that you look. Now this is a big room, but we're going to do a fast walk around the entire room. All right. So if you would, everyone stand up, please. You people, you're going to have to kind of filter into the line here. Come on over this way. We're going to go clockwise. Clockwise, that way. Okay, so everybody have a place in line? So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you how to walk, and then you're going to experience the differences between that. I'm going to have you do what I call the geisha walk. So we're going to walk kind of like a geisha, or, with little tiny steps, and move your hands a lot. And I want you to feel what that does to your energy in your body. Then we're going to walk your regular walk, and then I'm going to ask you to think about walking in a more kind of an upright way with a smoother, like your body is on a train, your chest is on a train, and you're going to lengthen your stride a little bit. You're not going to do this, right? But I want you to just lengthen your stride like you want to move quickly, but you don't want to move your feet quickly. Does that make sense? Okay, so everybody go. Geisha walk. Shake your hands. Yeah. Now what's happening to your heartbeat? Yeah. It's being thrilling, aren't you glad? Okay, now go back to your regular walk. Now we're going to walk for a while in your regular walk. We can walk a little faster. This is a New York subway. We're going to walk in a regular walk. Yeah. Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to lengthen your stride, raise your head, and take a longer stride. So you're going to go faster. So keep going. Let your arms just be loose. Don't swing them. It's kind of hard in this room. I guess we've got a lot of people here. Okay. How do you feel more or less energy being used? Less energy. And yet, you look better and more powerful. And I would say, what we couldn't, you can stop. When you get back to your seat, we can keep going. Practice this when you have more space. Think about the difference between, here is my regular walk, which is a perfectly fine walk, right? But it doesn't necessarily look particularly powerful. If I just raise myself slightly, lengthen my stride, all of a sudden I look more powerful, even if I'm smiling and not giving you the dirty look, the subway walk look, right? So even if I just do this, isn't that interesting how all of a sudden I look like I'm more in control? The way you walk in the room will change the way that you feel. And by the way, part of that will help with your nerves, because if you walk in a fast pace, your heartbeat's going to raise, and your body's going to interpret that as being nervous. And so thinking about simplifying all those kind of actions is a really important thing to do. So you're going to walk in the room from now on with purpose. You're going to walk in like you're walking into New York subway station, which is never that empty. Right? But I don't know where Grand Army Plaza, I don't know whether I've ever been in that station. Brooklyn. Thank you. So you're going to have your purposeful walk. And your purpose is you're going to set the purpose in your head of thinking something like, this is my room. This is my room. When I walk in this room, this is my room. So that's a kind of a purpose statement. I want these people to see me as the owner of the room. And I'm going to walk in with that in my head. You all going to do that tomorrow? Today? Excellent. Good. All right. The next thing I like to speak about is standing with purpose. Because the way you stand, especially if you're in front of the room, absolutely changes what people think about you. And I would love to say that most people stand beautifully in front of the room, but frankly, what I see a lot of the time looks more like this. Right? Does height matter for charisma? Unfortunately, height does matter for charisma. It does. We haven't had a president under, I think, 6'1" since, I think, the 1800s. Yeah, 6'1" or 6 feet, something like that. They're all tall. Even Hillary Clinton is taller than average for a woman. I think she's 5'7". So height matters, and what happens when I do this? I get shorter. All right, this, Patty, is the moment you've been waiting for. I asked Patty to be my volunteer. Would you be my volunteer? We're going to do an exercise called the Rebellious Teenager in the Mountain.
Oh.
Would you come to the front, please? All right. Patty, do you have a teenager?
No.
Yay. Do you know a teenager?
Yes.
Excellent. Were you a teenager?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. So when you were a teenager, was there someone that you didn't like?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the room that reminds you of that person?
No.
All right. Is there anyone we can pretend that is like that?
Amy.
Okay. Amy.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we give her a name?
Trisha.
Trisha. Okay, so Amy is Trisha. So what I want you to do is I want you to channel your inner teenager, and I want you to think, Trisha has just said something incredibly stupid one more time, and I'm so embarrassed to be around her, and I hate her so much. And I would like you to see what that looks like. What would a teenager, how would they stand when they did that? So channel that in. Really? Would they?
As a teenager, that's going to be different.
Ooh, she was a feisty teenager.
right?
See, because what I imagine, see, she's about to take her on in a fight. Right? So let's pretend she's a teacher and you can't take her on in a fight.
Okay. And I'm still upset with her?
They still like,
It's disdain.
disdain is the perfect word. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. See, what I normally see, I'm going to give her cheat things. Looks kind of like this.
Oh, yeah.
So would you do that for us?
Yeah.
Okay, so stay there. I'll go back to there. Yeah. Okay, so what happened? She slouched. Her arms are crossed. She closed off. By the way, I never judge people on crossed arms because sometimes it means they're cold, right? And sometimes it just means they're going inside. When somebody asks a question, you'll see people go, they're going inside. But she's like definitely backing away. She's off balance. Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to put your feet at roughly hip distance apart. So about, yeah, let your arms drop. Now how does she look? How does she look in terms of being, don't shift your weight. Yeah, yeah. How does she look in terms of being powerful? Okay, go back to the teenager again.
Oh.
Okay, does she look powerful? Look how we drain our power by something as simple as our posture. Isn't that amazing?
Small.
It makes you small. And we do all kinds of things. Would you do the fig leaf pose for us?
What's the fig leaf?
Okay. Does she make herself? Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It's called the fig leaf, right?
Oh. Thank you, and that was on camera.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
goes up on the website.
Yeah. So does it make her bigger or smaller when she does that? It makes her smaller.
So what about this? I told well,
Okay.
I don't mean that, but here.
How does it look?
Well,
I don't know. If you have a question, ask somebody to do it and look how they look.
right. Oh, so it's up here.
Well, this posture, you see a lot with attorneys and professors. This is what I call the expert pose. For some reason in our culture, this pose says, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And the attorneys, they'll be at their desk like this, right? Yeah. Or a professor, or a psychologist. Those people who have that kind of knowledge authority tend to do that. That's a gesture that comes in. It's a nice example of how we judge people on the gestures. What's so hard about this?
Yeah, I don't, maybe it's because I'm tall. I feel like I'm leaning over people, so that's my own insecurity, so I have to do something with my body. Or, just bring it in.
Yeah, but do we want her to do that in front of the room?
No, you're right.
You're right, but we had the habits that we have in one-on-one conversation, we tend to bring to the front of the room.
Yeah.
Right, so the posture of the mountain. Does anyone know yoga people? Yoga people know the mountain, right? Yes. Now this is like the mountain, except some practices turn the hands outward. But if you just stand in the mountain pose, how hard is that? Does it look weird when I do it? Okay, but it feels weird when you do it, right? So
I think it's the length of time that you're doing it, because if you're standing in front of something, then it feels like you're being somewhat unnatural if you stand like that for too long.
absolutely. If you stand anyway for too long, you feel unnatural. And I would say, and your hands will start to tingle and all sorts of weird things will happen. I do not want you to stand in front of the room like this the whole rest of your life. What I'm saying is that if you want to reset to a powerful present moment, go to the mountain. Be the mountain. Now, you can then move from there and do things and gesture to be more natural, but you want to do that. Now, can you do one more pose for me? Can you do this one? Okay, have you ever seen somebody stand in the room, front of the room? This is a woman's pose. We do this.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I don't go here.
Why do you do that? What are you hiding?
Boobs.
The boobs. Oh. Yeah. Or what else? What else? How else? It might be boobs. It might be what else? Stomach. We think people might think we're fat, right? Or we're embarrassed about the way that we're built. What I tell you all is the second you walk in that door, we already know. Whatever it is that you are, if you're short, tall, fat, skinny, largely endowed, or not so much, we already know. So you might as well just own it. Whatever it is. Right? Right? Am I wrong? Okay. Thank you. Give her a hand. Thank you, Heather. I will also tell you that a lot of the gestures that are habitual, especially nervous gestures, where we grab our own hands or we touch our face, or the one I see where the people put their legs completely together and they say, oh, I feel much more stable when I stand like that. And you say, you give them a little push and they go over on their side. What are the ways in which you soothe a fussing baby? You rock them. What else?
You bounce them.
You bounce them, you rock them, and you hold them, right? Or you feed them, but we are not talking about that. So we are hardwired to be comforted by movement and by physical touch. So people manifest nerves either by excess movement. Men tend to circle in front of, they do this circly thing in front of the room. You see people do this, right? Women tend to grab onto a part of themselves because from a neurological standpoint, the sense of touch, if you're touching yourself in that way, functions as a soothing mechanism, as even if it is only you and not somebody else touching you and encouraging you that way. So we grab our own hands, we put our hands behind our back, we put our legs cross our legs, because all of that is touch that says there's somebody here to support you. It happens to be you. But from a psychological standpoint, that's how it works out. Right? Okay.
I feel like I have to do something. That mountain pose was very awkward for me.
Okay, it is.
But I try to.
But does it look awkward?
No. Did I? I didn't. No.
Mm-mm. So it's because it's habitual behaviors that your brain doesn't want you to undo, because the brain loves habits. Loves habits. It's a habitual behavior. Again, I don't want you to stand like this and you give a presentation, like a little doll or something. No, this is the reset pose that says, am I here? If I recognize in myself that I am not fully present in whatever it is that I'm doing, then I'm going to go to this pose to center myself and bring myself back and know that it will come across to my audience as being more powerful. Right? Everyone stand up. Please. Please stand up. Now I would like you to all think about your inner teenager, or if you have teenagers, you can kind of be the mirror of what you see at home, right? And I would like you to think that I am your mother, and I have yet again embarrassed you in front of all of your friends and said stupid, irrelevant things, and you wish I would die. Right? So I would like you to go to that pose, all right. All right. Now I would like you, I've got the hand on the forehead there. I love it. Ah, there you go. All right, so stay in that pose. Everyone go into that pose. And now I would like you to close your eyes. Stay in the pose, close your eyes. Notice how off balance you are. Isn't that amazing? Now keep your eyes closed. Put your feet hip distance apart, roughly. Let your hands drop to your sides, roll your shoulders back slightly. Think about your chin being parallel to the floor. Now I'd like you to breathe. How does that feel? Centered, balanced, strong. That's the mountain. So if you want to think about charisma, think about be the mountain when you stand in front of the room. Allow yourself room to breathe like you're this gigantic object coming up out of the earth. And it will center you, and it will change the way that you approach the room and change the way that other people see you. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So have a seat. Excellent. We are so habitual. The brain, the habit in the brain is because that's extremely efficient. Yes, ma'am. Miss.
I have a question.
Yep.
Because standing straight in front of the room for a short period of time it's totally fine.
Mhm.
But when you're in a situation where you have to stand like that for a long period of time, and I happen to be very conscientious of that nonverbal behavior, what are some of the postures that you recommend, or what are some of the movements that you recommend that don't still communicate confidence, but at the same time kind of give you a little bit of respite from
Of course.
that
Yeah.
pose?
Yes. Well, the first thing that I would say is that hand gestures are hardwired into the language centers of the brain. So your hand gestures are really, really difficult to undo. So if you're going to be the mountain, you're thinking be still, so your hands don't have to go anywhere. But when you start talking, if your hands start to move naturally, then it's going to come across as powerful. The two things that don't come across as powerful are when you start doing very choppy gestures, and some people when they're nervous, they get choppy. So I would say watch your hands and make sure they're not, they don't get, you can see the tension in my hands, right, when that happens. The other thing is when people get nervous, they have one-sided gestures, and it's usually because everybody holds tension somewhere, and it'll be in one side of their body or another. So I would say watch for choppy gestures, watch for one-sided gestures, and other than that, allow the gestures to come out of your speech. And most of them, if you can, are going to be waist or higher. Different cultures have different rules about how big you're going to get on cultures. There are very, very strict rules on that. But I would say this space here is probably where you should be gesturing, unless you're a motivational speaker, and then you're going to be gesturing bigger. That's a different kind of a speaking. Did that help?
Yeah, makes sense.
You can, all of these things, try one thing. Try one thing. Yes?
I was going to just share with the group, a wise woman named Patty McKay taught most of the women on this bench here to
I love Patty
use their
McKay.
body as an instrument. So not only are you using your voice, but you're using your hands and you're using your posture to play the instrument throughout the presentation. So if you can think of it like that, I think it will, as you can see, I'm naturally using my hands to share the story.
Yeah. If the hand gestures are natural, they're generally speaking going to seem powerful because it says, I am here with my own purpose, I'm playing my own music, right? It's when you start getting too much stuff generated, or they get choppy, or they get awkward, or they get closed gestures. Was it you that had, somebody back there had a hand up, I saw it out of the corner of my eye, I thought. Oh, okay.
I'm Italian, so I naturally use my hands.
Well, you were taught, yes.
Yes, but when I'm standing from a room for an extended period of time, because I just do naturally go to the hands, I actually keep my hands here because having them down here, it seems like I'm having to spend too much time bringing them back up, so I'll rest here to quietly hear what somebody has to say, and then I go right back to my business.
What I would say is if you're going to have a rest, the rest movements I don't like are the ones that really close you down. These kind of things. But this is not so bad. This doesn't seem to take away power, this kind of a resting movement. As long as you're not about ready to sing. Then like opera, right? I'm trying to think, there's a way that opera singers hold their hands when they sing. They do that, by the way, to raise their rib cage and allow themselves to have more air. So, yes?
It's interesting to think about the differences in women where some of the gestures you talk about, we all, as women, tend to want to make ourselves small.
We do.
As opposed to a man that does this man spreading.
Yeah.
The more space you can take up, the more.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I read an interesting study recently about taking up space and the threat of taking up space, that you get away with physical taking up space as a woman much more than you do by some of the other things we'll talk about, like language, what language you use. They will not necessarily judge you as overly assertive and aggressive if you spread all your stuff out and you sit up tall at the table and you look powerful at the table. They won't say she's become too, whatever word you want to use. Sometimes if you use some of the other techniques that go along with this, people will say she's pushy or she's any of the bad words that get applied. But for some reason, if we women spread, apparently they don't perceive it as a threat. Isn't that, that's what the study said anyway. And so put your stuff all over the table. I'm sorry?
So my question is, if we
I just said I'm
woman
sorry.
spread,
Yes.
does it really appear powerful in that particular case? I'm thinking, like, if you've got your stuff, you've got your purse here, you've got your stuff here, you've got your computer here. I'm wondering, as a female, if it is not very powerful. Because I almost think that the perception is she's scattered.
What I would say is it depends on what you're spreading. If it's your purse and your sunglasses, probably not. But if it's your computer and your books and your notebook, I don't know, give it a try, see what happens. I just read this, so I'm just passing along information that I've gotten. But I do know that when I stand in a powerful way, I don't get dismissed as quickly as I do as if I don't stand in a powerful way. So be the mountain, be the mountain, be the mountain. Take a look at these. I just pulled this out. I took the faces out so you didn't get into some of the... I like to look at these things, by the way, outside of the political. What works and what doesn't work? Why do people have effect, no matter what their politics are? Because I want to know why someone is having an effect. So what do you see?
A law professor.
A law professor?
She's doing the
The
pose
yeah,
that you were
the
talking
pose.
about.
And how about these two guys on the end?
The fig leaf.
The fig leaf. They don't, do they look confident? Isn't that interesting? All right, so you know who those people were, right? I don't have to tell you? Yeah. Okay. All right, but look at this. Do we know who this is?
Yeah.
Sheryl Sandberg. This was the cover of Time magazine. It's hard to read in this light, but this was Time magazine. Don't hate her because she's successful. And then that was a picture from inside the magazine. The article about her had that picture. And I put them side by side and sized them up.
Are her feet crossed there?
Yep.
They have that one where she's so closed
Yep.
off and so.
Yep. So, and this one, it's like the turn, I call this the turned mountain. She's like this, which is even slightly more aggressive than this, right?
She looks elegant.
Yeah, but look at her head. It's the same line. The neckline is the same. Black versus red. I mean, so, but in that one, she looks like she's totally in control. And this one, she looks like she's what? Apologizing. Don't hate me. Now, I told you about the disclaimer notice. In which one does she look more approachable?
The first.
Now, isn't that interesting? If you look at her head, it's exactly the same, but you change her body language and all of a sudden you see her as powerful and elegant versus approachable. So that's why I say you have to be purposeful and think about the impact of your body language on other people and their perception. Look how we react to that. Isn't that bizarre? It's not powerful, but it might make me look nicer. If I wanted for some reason to take back my power and make myself more approachable, then I can do that purposefully as well. So this is about being purposeful in the way that you have influence on and impact other people. It's bizarre. We are so hardwired to react to body language. It's amazing when you start studying body language how easy it is to shift people's focus by changing your body language. really interesting. We could have 3 or 4 days of a seminar on this, and it would be fun. Okay. All right, so your purposeful posture is, I will be the mountain. That will be my reset to make myself fully present in who I am and where I am with these people. All right, so we have a whole bunch of, we have a big mountain range here, so it'll be good. I would like to see that in your presentations. All right. The next topic area is voice. I believe that how you speak directly determines how you lead. I also believe that your voice is your most charismatic tool. It is the one that can affect how people hear your words more than anything else. Once they accept that you're powerful, if you come up in front of the room and say, "Hi, I'm Cindy Burnham, and I'm going to talk to you today about having a powerful voice," my credibility is going to go away, and it's my voice that's doing it. I don't believe, we touch other people with our voices. We physically touch people with our voices. The sound goes out of my mouth and moves the air, and that air touches you with the wavelength of my voice. So it is a very, very important thing that most people don't think about their voices and how their voices can be bigger and more beautiful and can convey their words in a more powerful way before you even get to the subject of words, right? Your purposeful voice, oh, wait a minute, I forgot this, be the mountain. Who is more powerful? Exhibit A. Who is more powerful? Darth Vader. Now, you could say, if you were a business person, which I had some people from a company that is represented in this room say to me, yes, but Disney now owns the Star Wars franchise. So there is that. But what do we think about when we think about both of these characters? What do you think about when you say, I'm going to imitate Minnie Mouse? How does she talk? Hi, I get all the high notes, right? And Darth Vader? Luke. Do you know he never said, Luke, I am your father? Apparently that's apocryphal, that there's something that he said that's like that, but he never actually said, Luke, I am your father. But you get the idea. So you see how that works? We impute power to a lower, deeper voice as opposed to a higher, more breathy voice. Now I'm going to show you something some of you have seen before, I'm sure. I hope this isn't going to be, if this is too loud, scream and I'll turn it down because it's hard to judge on these. Ready?
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn.
We're going to listen to the whole thing because I like it.
It's a new life for me.
Nice job. How many of you know what happens after that?
You know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine. I know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new life for me. And I'm free.
Okay. What do you think of this woman? Is she powerful? Is she present? Is she all of the things that you would want to represent yourself as a woman? How many of you know this, what's going to happen next? Oh, good. It's not very many. All right. Okay. Are you ready? Pay attention. Here it comes.
What is your name? My name is Wayne McDonald. And I'm 17 years old. It's like they turned something on.
Is that not amazing? And what I would like you to do is observe in yourself how your reaction to that person changed when you heard that voice. What kind of voice did you think was going to come out of that girl?
A woman's voice.
A woman's powerful voice. And instead you got, hi, I'm Wayne McDonald, I'm 17 years old, right? Incredible singer, but for some reason that singing persona didn't transfer into her speaking persona, which is really interesting. Is that amazing? Yeah. So when you think about the effect of your voice, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I will tell you that many people in Southern California in particular talk in what I call a spread voice, which if you put your hands right here and you say, hi, hi, you feel how your cheeks pooch out? And there are a lot of people who say, hi, I'm here to talk to you today about this, that, and the other thing, and it's spread. It's a very California style. Those muscles should not be, they shouldn't be pooching out. They should be loose if your voice is going to be right. Okay, now, you cannot hear your own voice the way that other people hear your voice. How many people here love the sound of their voice on their answering machine or answering message? Not even one person? Usually there's one who's okay with it. Okay. You cannot hear your voice the way other people hear it. Therefore, you must get feedback. In order to have the powerful voice that you want and that you think you have, you must get feedback. Now, you can't hear what I would like you to do, do I want to do that first? No, I'm going to do this first. There are 3 reasons you can't hear your own voice. First of all, who knows where your voice is produced? What makes your voice? Where is it? Right here is your voice box, your larynx. Adam's apple in a man. Put your hand right here and go, and you can feel it vibrate. You feel that? If you go, it'll move up and down. All right, is it closer to your own ears or to the other person's ears, generally speaking? Your own. So you are going to hear your own voice as louder than it actually is. It is the proximity effect. Second question. How do we hear our own voices? Do we hear? No, I didn't mean do we like them or not. I'm talking physically. How does the sound get from our voice into our ears? There are 2 ways. It comes out through the air, which is the same way that you hear my voice, is it's coming through the air. Who said that? Yes. The other thing that it does is it moves through the bones of your face, and actually the spaces of your face all vibrate. And that's why I bring my bell, because it's the same as this. Those bones continue to vibrate after you've stopped speaking, which gives you a false sense of how resonant your voice is. Your voice is more like this to everybody else, right? Make sense? So you're going to hear your own voice as more resonant than it actually is. And finally, have you ever been in an apartment where there's somebody living next door who's playing loud music? And what do you hear through the walls? The bass, exactly. And I call this the neighbor's apartment effect. Deeper vocal waves move through matter more easily than higher treble vocal waves. So your voice is going to sound deeper because it's all the treble frequencies are getting blocked by all the stuff in your face. So you're going to think your voice, so on your messages, you're going to sound like your voice is higher, softer, and thinner for the most part. Is that how you experience it? Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to take your hands like this. You're going to put like this part of your hand on your jawbone and this part of your hand on your cheekbone. So basically it's like you're putting your hand on the bell. Okay, and then you're going to put the other one there and curl your fingers up a little bit because I want you to block your ears. And now I want you to say, this is my voice. So that's how other people hear your voice. This is how you hear me. Consequently, if you want to have the voice that you think you have inside your head, you have to artificially substitute some of those things. It might be volume. It might, resonance is hard to get more resonance than that. You'd have to take vocal lessons for. And the other thing is deepness. That was a question face. Yeah. 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 Okay. But what you can do in the meantime is you can record yourself on your laptop or whatever and listen to what your voice sounds like and say, is this the voice that I want to have? And can I make it lower? Can I make it more expressive? Can I make it more interesting? And practice. And the other thing is get feedback. Ask for feedback from someone you know who might be able to tell you. Does my voice sound, what does my voice sound like? Do I sound like a powerful voice? Someone who would hopefully give you good feedback, right? Get that from other people. Now, I'm gonna make you stand up again. It's late, so I make people move a lot. Okay. And we're gonna do an exercise. Has anybody heard me do this exercise before? Oh, I've got one person here. Anyway, yeah. We're gonna do an exercise. I'm gonna show you your vocal range, and then what I want you to do in this exercise is listen to two things. First of all, I want you to listen to your own voice, and second of all, I want you to listen to the room and how the room sounds differently. So we're going to do this 3 times. The first time is just practice. You're going to take your hand. Don't do it yet. You don't have to wait till I say go. And you're going to make like a sound like you're jumping off a cliff, and you're going to go make a sound all the way down, 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 until you imagine you're going way underwater into the deepest, darkest part of your voice. Okay, and it's going to sound like this. Right? Okay. So if you would. Just go back up for fun. Isn't it fun how you just, in your mind, you watch the film go in reverse, right? Isn't that cool? Okay. So now I'm going to have you do it 2 ways. The first way is I'm going to have you do the same thing, and I'm going to have you imagine that you are about to jump up the cliff, but you stop. And then wherever that note is, that pitch is, you're going to say, this is my Minnie Mouse voice. So it'll sound like this. This is my Minnie Mouse voice. Okay? And I want you to listen to the room when that happens, okay? Okay, now use your other arm for balance. We're gonna do it again, and we're gonna go not to the lowest part of your voice, but the lowest comfortable part of your voice, because I don't want you to. Does anyone here know what vocal fry is? Yes. Vocal fry is when you talk like this, when you have that kind of weird sound. But we like it in men's voices, but we don't like it in women's voices for some reason, I don't know. So we're gonna go down to your Darth Vader voice. And you're going to say, this, Luke, I am your father. Okay? Luke, I am your father. Ooh. Do you hear how the room sounded different when you did that? Say it again like that. Luke, I am your father. Would you listen to that group of women? Yes. Now do the Minnie Mouse one again. This is my Minnie Mouse voice. I am your father. Yeah, I got confused there too. So think about Luke, I am your father. So say it again one more time for practice. Luke, I am your father. Now that's a voice that we will listen to. So think about, now, have a seat. Why do we speak in the voice? What did I show you when we did the whole thing down there, up and down? What did I show you? Your vocal range. Why do you, and where do you speak? Most of you, somewhere. Somewhere in here, right? Why do you speak there?
Because we're female.
It's natural.
Is it natural? Could I talk like this all the time and have it be comfortable?
No.
No, I think I probably could. It doesn't hurt my voice. I mean, it's not my habitual place. The placement of your voice and where it is in your vocal range is as habitual as everything else. Now, I have no research to support this, but I believe that we start speaking in a certain way when we're teenagers. And that whatever that is, we talk like the girls around us, and then that becomes the habitual way of speaking going forward. And most of us don't make an adjustment to that as we get older. But you can choose. You can be purposeful in thinking about speaking in a lower, more powerful, less high-pitched, slower way of speaking. And you will come across as more powerful and more charismatic.
Can
So,
I add to that?
yes, please.
I grew up in Virginia, and so when you're in the South, I mean, it's a whole different can of worms
Mm.
as to how people talk. And
Indeed it is.
I never thought of it as professional, so I nixed my Southern accent years ago. And when you hear somebody who speaks in a deep Southern accent, my first thought is, that person's just dumb as the hills.
I will tell you, I had an assignment as a district sales manager in Memphis, Tennessee. I'll tell you what. And I had to get over that prejudice really fast because I came from Southern California where there is a prejudice against a Southern accent. And there were some very smart, good old boys down there. And they would steal the money right out of your pocket with that, you're not from around here, are you? Yeah. We have prejudices. I stopped showing a video because of the contentious nature that I found when I showed it, but look up Donald Trump English accent. Whatever your feelings are about Donald Trump, look at that video, and they have overdubbed his words with a guy speaking a very, very high British accent, very formal British accent. And watch how your perception of what he has to say changes, either because what do we think an English accent? What is that? How does that make people sound? Sophisticated, smart, dignified, witty. So those are the good things. They sound more educated, all of those kinds of things. And on the bad side, what's the negative? Snobbish, arrogant, condescending. So depending on how you feel about Donald Trump, generally speaking, if you dislike Donald Trump, you're going to go, oh my God, he sounds more intelligent than I thought he does normally. If you like Donald Trump, you're going to probably say, oh, they've made him sound so arrogant and pompous. So depending on where your starting point is, the accent will change how you feel about the man. It's scary. Okay, I'm going to move on from here. We're going to zoom. Y'all still in it?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Channel your purposeful voice. Channel your inner Darth. Think my voice is low and powerful. If I want to have, I think if you really want to get things done, you speak in your mom voice. Right? And when my mother said, Cynthia and Burnham, I knew I was in trouble. So if you speak in your mom voice, people will listen. That's why it's powerful. Okay. I'm going to whiz through stuff on language because this is basically, I'm just telling you what to do and not do. There is also another handout, there may still be some there, that are some suggestions on what I call alarms to get people to give you attention to your words, to choose your words purposefully, and there's another handout over there. But right now, what I would like to talk about is the concept of too many pillows. Has anyone here ever gone to someone's house and it's really cute and it's really nicely decorated, but there are zillions of pillows on the couch? And you can't sit down, right? You can't sit down because there are too many pillows. Unfortunately, the same concept holds true for the way that women often use language, women in particular. If women, and to a certain extent, minorities who come from a disenfranchised background will also tend to use a lot of filler language that is softening. So this is where I tell you choose carefully, because you're going to have to choose how powerful you want to use to be. Yes?
See, I actually purposely did this in my language.
Put it in.
I put it in because otherwise, and this was when I was younger, otherwise I found I had the total bitch thing. So I purposely put as many pillows as humanly possible because I speak directly, naturally. I can't do this because otherwise I'll be a bitch. And I'm not even obviously not changing who I am.
Yeah. And there are some comments that I would make on that, because some of you are going to have to do that kind of thing and add the language back in. But I also say, if you're direct with a smile on your face and a nice tone of voice, it can also be, the tone of voice can also be an issue sometimes, something for you to think about. But the softening fillers are to point them out to you so that you don't use them when you want to feel powerful, right? So I'm going to talk about two types of pillows. And and this is so nice that I got a pillow that matched my outfit today. Isn't that great? Pink, pink, pink. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is softening fillers. What kinds of things do you think I mean by softening fillers? Sort of, just, actually, kind of. Upspeak is a different question. Somebody wants to talk to me about upspeak afterwards. I can give you recommendations on that. Upspeak is when you talk where everything goes up at the end. Hi, I went to the store and I bought some shoes and they were really cute. All right, that's upspeak. So there's ways you can get around, and it's disempowering. So there it is. All right, here's my list. Just, I think, I was hoping, could you, actually, really, need versus, when you say, I really need you to do this, is less powerful than, would you do this? Or, I want you to do this. Want is more powerful than need, generally speaking. Maybe, like, so could we actually maybe talk about this? See how the words just, I completely undermine myself. If you can, just breathe. When those words start to come in your mouth, just breathe. And wait for the real words to come in. Here's some examples. I think maybe we should do plan A. What's the pillow? What are the pillows there? Oh, wait a minute. I think maybe. So we're going to toss them. There's did you see my PowerPoint thing? I was saying that one of my careers I wanted to have was to be a graphic designer. That was one of the choices. And so I'm like addicted to PowerPoint. So it's like, watch this. Ready? All right. Or even more powerfully is to put in an action word like, I recommend we do plan A. More powerful, more powerful, more powerful. How about, so could you please bring me the report by 2 o'clock? Make it go away. Please bring me the report by 2 o'clock is more powerful. It's also more confrontational. So the question, again, that's going to be you're going to have to make a decision. But I want to show you what power looks like so you can choose to use it when you need it, all right? I just wanted to say how proud I am of everyone. I just wanted to say how proud I am of everyone. Just wanted to say. I just wanted to send you a note to thank you. Why do we need that? Thank you so much, right? So this one, what is more powerful? I just wanted to say how proud I am of everyone. I am so proud of everyone. Which one would you rather hear? How about this? I am so proud of you. Personalizes it. Your job as a charismatic, powerful person and the influence and have purpose is to connect with other people. Personalize things when you have the chance. Don't say, I'm so proud of everyone. I'm so proud of you. Very, very different message comes across when you think about being purposeful in your language and making those choices. Any questions about that? Yes?
Do you find the same rules apply with emails? Like if you're writing these as opposed to saying them?
Okay, the emails, there's a different, I'm going to have to roll back and give a little tiny lecture thing, which is to say that because of that business of the visual and auditory and content being in that kind of order as we perceive things, when you take away the visual, I can't see your body language when, from an email. You take away the tone of voice, all I'm left with is the words. And because of the nature of humans and the way we assess threat, the words are going to be judged negatively by a factor of I don't know what in every case. So whatever you say is going to be judged more negatively than you meant it by most people. It's not an absolute, but by most people. Consequently, yes, I say put some of those things back in. If you're giving a difficult email, then you're going to want to soften it because they're going to read it overly negatively anyhow, so you have to adjust it to fix it. Yep. Emoticons were created for that very reason. Seriously. There is one pillow that I consider to be particularly evil, and that is, I just wanted to thank you. I was just hoping you could. Just be yourself. I consider it an evil pillow. As often as you can, take it out. Thank you, please. Not just be yourself, be yourself. Don't just be anything. All right, the next group I'm going to go through is the other thing that we as women do quite often, which are polite lies, which are false apologies and disclaimers. So stay with me, we're going to speed. I'm sorry, can I bother you for a minute? I'm sorry, I didn't have that right. In front of the room, people say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have that right. Why are you apologizing? I'm sorry, but I disagree. I'm sorry. Really? Ask yourself, are you really sorry? Liar, liar, pants on fire, right? Right? Are you calling unnecessarily to a correctable error by saying, I'm sorry, and apologizing? Can you substitute excuse me and not lose meaning? Generally speaking, I'm sorry can be replaced by excuse me, and then people will just see you as changing direction rather than having done something wrong. For example, if I go to the wrong slide, I say, oh, I'm sorry, I go into the wrong slide, you think, oh, she made a mistake. If I say, excuse me, I need to go back to the different slide, you don't judge me as making a mistake, right? I'm sorry, I hate it. Come to me. Why is this not moving? All right, there's my examples. Excuse me, do you have a minute to talk about X, Y, and Z? Excuse me, rather than I'm sorry I didn't get that right. Excuse me, that should be. I'm sorry, but I disagree. I disagree, here's why, is more powerful. Right? The other one's false disclaimers. I may be wrong, but. All the facts are not in yet, but. I'm not completely sure, but. My favorite, with all due respect. Whatever comes after with all due respect, right? Something disrespectful is. 90% of the time going to come after that statement, right? Okay, so ask yourself, do you really believe you were wrong? If this is your stand, why aren't you taking it? And are you actually about to say something disrespectful? Sometimes, I've heard it every once in a while it's used, and you're gently trying to correct someone. You say, with all due respect, I need to correct you on that. That's gentler, but it's less powerful. If I say I need to correct you on that, it's more powerful, right? Liar, liar, pants on fire. Make them go away. Why do we do this?
To be perceived as less of a threat.
To be perceived as less of a threat.
We want people to like us.
We want people to like us. Yes, Carrie?
I will say, sometimes you'll use this, I read a book, How to Influence Friends, or Influence People and Win Friends, right? And they talk about it sometimes, about how you can say things like, well, I might not be an expert, but, and that can kind of, like how you were saying, soften you a little bit. So I don't know if that goes with that, but I know I might have a tendency to sometimes say, like, I may be wrong, because I don't want to.
Again, this goes back to what I want you to do is be able to recognize powerful language and use it appropriately. There are going to be times when you're going to want to soften your language, when you want to create a sense of equality, for example, by you don't want to come on as the heavy, and so you soften your language for that reason. Absolutely. But knowing the difference and not just doing it by habit is really what I'm looking for. It's doing it purposefully, purposefully, purposefully. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I say we do this, by the way, from an excess desire to be safe, to be nice, to be polite, not to be presumptuous, and out of habit. And what I say is be purposeful in your language choices. Think about who you're speaking to and what the language might be. Now, there's one question that somebody is thinking in their head. They're thinking, but Cindy, what if you really apologizing? What if you really did something wrong and you had to apologize? I have two answers. What if you're late, for example, and you're apologizing because you're late? Well, sometimes you got to apologize. One. Number two, sometimes you can consider an attitude of gratitude instead. Know what I mean by that?
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for waiting for me. I know that I put you in an awkward situation. Thank you so much for waiting for me.
I find, and this is in general, that, because I used to be somebody that used to really worry if I offended anyone in the entire world. And I think I was a stress ball.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like, oh, thank you so much. And it's like, instead of worrying about it, being comfortable with myself and making that switch to just being appreciative of, people liked me better, because I wasn't a stress ball.
Well, and if you come across as a person who has gratitude, you're going to be seen as a kinder person and also in some odd way more powerful. Because you're not going to be, I'm sorry. If you say, thank you so much for waiting for me, is more powerful, right? So attitude of gratitude, consider saying, thank you so much for waiting for me. I know it was getting inconvenient. And I say consider, because sometimes you really do have to apologize. If you really screw up, you're going to have to apologize. On the other hand, you can also say, I'm sorry I screwed up the report. What else might you say?
Screwed up the report. You can just say the fact.
You can say I screwed up. You can say I screwed up the report. And how does the gratitude come into it?
Thank you for understanding.
Thank you for understanding. Thank you for catching it. What I have is, I very much appreciate your giving me the opportunity to fix my error by doing X, Y, and Z. Thank you for letting me fix this. And coming across with that is it's more charismatic. It's also more beautiful. And it allows you to be soft without losing your power in a way. So I vote for that. All right. Power first, soften second in most cases. We should do plan A, in my opinion, is a way of softening it. We should bring me the report by 2 o'clock. Thanks, I appreciate it. Tone of voice, kind and friendly. I'm going to give you a fast example here. A lot of times people come into someone's office and they say something like, hey, sorry, I was just wondering if you could maybe have a couple of minutes so we could talk about something that's come up. I wouldn't bother you, but I think you need to know there are tooth rings, blah, 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 blah. Have you ever had somebody walk in your office and do that, right? And you are going, I'm so busy. Is there a problem here? What's the point, right? So think about purposeful language as getting your point across and making you connect and influence people better. And instead of that, toss those pillows. Excuse me. I need your help as soon as possible with a problem that's come up with the product trials and the teams. What's the likelihood that the person is going to listen to you then? I speak concisely and powerfully. The pillows are gone. The pillows are tossed. The last piece in the last couple of minutes that I want to talk about is your attitude and thinking purposefully about your attitude. We're going to do a very fast exercise. Yeah, we can do it. We have time. Right? Attitude, attitude is the inclination to act or react in a certain way. So if you get out of bed with a bad attitude, what's going to happen? You're going to likely to behave one way or the other. All right, we're going to do a fast exercise, and it's going to get really loud, so you know that. So stand up, please. We're going to do an exercise I call greeting an old friend. So what I would like you to do is imagine that the person next to you or the couple of people next to you are regular business people that you see relatively often and you're coming into a meeting, but not so often that you wouldn't shake hands with them. So just go to a couple of people and shake hands and say, hi, how are you? It's good to see you. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Come back, come back. Now I'm going to change your attitude. And I'm going to say, imagine you were just coming in from a long trip where you've had a bad flight delays, things have gone wrong, and all of a sudden you're walking in, you're at San Diego airport, and you're walking down and you're thinking, ugh. But all of a sudden you look across the concourse and walking towards you is like your old college roommate that you haven't seen in 3 years, and you're totally flabbergasted, and there's someone you like. And, and I want you to now greet each other like that. So, okay, how hard was that? How hard was that? It wasn't hard at all. To make a choice to show up in a room like the people are good people that you like to see, that you want to see. How hard is that? All right. I also ask you to observe, how do you feel right now? Because what happens is that your body and your behavior come into alignment with the attitude that you set. So if you make a decision to show up and choose your attitude in a different way, you will not only come across as more positive, but you'll also feel a heck of a lot. Wouldn't you rather feel like that walking into a room? Right? So think about that in terms of attitude. Naomi Judd said, your body hears everything the mind says. So give your mind, give your body good messages. Have a seat. Thank you. A few years back, my husband and I went to Maui. And we went to something called a slack key guitar concert. Slack key guitar is a particular style of slide guitar that they play in Hawaii. We were led to our seats by a young man who both my husband and I perceived as developmentally disabled in some way. He had certain kinds of awkwardnesses and behaviors that I associate, right or wrong, with that. Khaki pants and a shirt. So we were very surprised when he got up and was asked to dance by the people who were on stage. And my husband and I prepared ourselves to clap for him like you do for a kid at a concert. Oh, that was so great, honey, as they're going on the piano, right? So we were prepared for that. But when he got in front of that room, instead of what we expected, it's like he stood in the spotlight and he grew. And he started to dance, and it was stunning. It was so beautiful. He was such an incredible dancer. And instead of being this, I was perceiving as compromised individual, my prejudice, that he was somehow compromised, all of a sudden my husband says he's like a god. He's like the Hawaiian god. He should have, you know, one of those big yellow feather hats and a cape, and it was so powerful. And I thought, isn't that interesting that he went from one place to another? Which brings me to the idea of just be yourself. How many of you have ever had someone say, you'll be fine, just be yourself, they'll love you, right? They'll love you. Makes you feel kind of good? I hate that. I hate it so much. For a couple of reasons. First, because it's the evil, just monster. And second of all, because it's not a bad instruction. Which him was himself? Which him was himself? They're both himself. So it's the question of which him is himself. Is it the just me? Or is it the best him, that powerful godlike him? Which one? The answer is they're both himself. The question is not which one is the real him or which one is the real you. The question is, where do you want to live? Do you want to live in the just you? Or do you want to live in the best you? Never, ever, ever just be yourself. The only person you are destined to become is the person you choose to be. So choose wisely. Your purposeful attitude. I will be my best self on purpose. Choose how you show up. Now, I've shown you a bunch of things tonight. The New York City subway walk, the posture of the mountain, channeling your inner Darth Vader, tossing out the pillows. There's lots more. There's a zillion things that we could talk about in this topic if we had all the days and times. But of all the things, your attitude and how you choose to show up is the most important one. You have more cells in your body than there are stars in 80 to 90 Milky Way galaxies. Every one of you is a galaxy of possibility. There never has been, there never will be another you in the history of the universe. And if that unique and powerful voice is lost, what a shame. So have courage. Be bigger. Be your best self on purpose. And with that I say thank you. Thank you for listening to me. This is my mission. With that, go home to the people who love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.